This is The Guardian.
Hello and welcome to The Guardian Football Weekly. Let's do some Spain to begin with. A Clásico at the weekend. Barça winning by the odd goal in 7, meaning La Liga is almost theirs. Was it worth pulling all those levers? Are they fine or will they explode shortly after lifting the trophy? All change at the Bernabéu. We'll ask what Xabi Alonso has to do to stop the conspiratorial whining. Sheffield United book their place at Wembley in the playoffs. Sunderland or Coventry await. Then some mailbag. Is the top six anymore? What's the worst decision you've ever seen? Fulham's £20,000 season ticket. Is the Premier League good? Does anyone care about the Club World Cup? And so on and so on. Thank you for the questions. This is The Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, John Brewin.
Hello.
And welcome, Nooruddean Choudry.
Hello.
And joining us from Spain for part one and part one only, as is their wont, Phil Kitromilides. Hey, Phil, you okay?
Hello, yes.
Joe says, did you avoid having Sid on because you wanted enough time to do the mailbag? It's a very good question. And yes, yes is the answer. Hey, let's talk about the Clásico, Phil. Barca beat Real Madrid 4-0. Real were 2-0 up after a quarter of an hour. And had they won, there would have been just a point in it. So I guess for the neutrals, probably a bit of a shame that Barca came back. But also for the neutrals, great that they came back because it was a brilliant game of football.
Absolutely. I mean, this game was just so fun, as the Clásicos have been this season. I had a mate of mine who was watching the Clásico for the first time this season, and he messaged me, he goes, "Oh, this is pretty decent." And I said, "Yeah, you know, they have been this season." He's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, it was been 4-0 to Barcelona, 5-2, 3-2. Their aggregate winning margin now for Barcelona is 16-7 against Real Madrid this season, and they've just been much better than Real Madrid. And actually, you said that for the neutral, it would have been good for Real Madrid to win because the title race would have continued. It was basically weird that they were at this point of the season with still a chance to win the league title, given that Barcelona have been so much better than them. Me and Sid were trying to get our heads around how is it possible that this really poor Real Madrid team still has a chance to win the league title. And it feels weird calling them, a poor team, but they are a poor team. They've got some brilliant individuals, but in terms of an actual team, an actual collective, actual idea, actual balance in the squad, they're miles off it.
Yeah, but did you think at the start of the season that Barca would win it?
No, God, no. No one did. We thought Real Madrid have just won the Champions League. They've won the league and they've bought the best player in the world, in Kylian Mbappé. So we were genuinely thinking this could be the start of a era of domestic dominance for Real Madrid, not least because of the position that Barcelona were in as well. The well-documented financial issues that they had and still have. A new manager coming in as well. Hansi Flick was, he's not an unknown quantity. We know who Hansi Flick is, but he was an unknown quantity in La Liga. Didn't know what he was going to do with this squad of players. And it turns out that he's basically taken exactly the same squad plus Dani Olmo and turned them into this extraordinary machine of playing entertaining football. Still need to defend a bit. And that was quite funny, actually, in the post-match press conference after winning this Clásico, after basically wrapping up the league title. You wouldn't expect to hear a manager go, "Yeah, we still need to improve. There's still things we need to do better." But they do need to defend a little bit better. But for the neutral, it's absolutely fantastic to watch them attack brilliantly, occasionally defend shambolically, and provide constant entertainment.
It's also surprised because they haven't been at the Nou Camp. Like, is this home from home? The same? Does it have the same? It's obviously not the same stadium, but it's up a big hill, isn't it? But it's basically rubbish. Do the fans make it? It's rubbish. Is it?
It's basically rubbish. Yeah, it's nice to go there as a one-off because it's a sort of beautiful stadium. It was the Olympic Stadium from Barca 1992, so it's very iconic. And you go there and oh wow, yeah, this looks nice. But then as an actual week in, week out football stadium to try and create a cauldron-like atmosphere, etc. Terrible. And I think you can see that it is up a hill. They're calling it the Magic Mountain. So the magic happens now, up the mountain, up Montjuic. But yeah, loads of Barcelona season ticket holders who had the option at the start of this 2-year stint at Montjuic to take up their season tickets there. I think there's like 50 or 60,000 season ticket holders at the camp now. Only 17,000 said, yeah, okay, we'll go to Montjuic. Yeah, that's fine. So people just didn't fancy it. They're like, it's too far away. I can't drive. Have to take escalators up the hill. Don't fancy it. It has improved recently with the team getting better. Funny that, in terms of attendances. But yeah, it's not the same. In Camp Nou's the biggest stadium in Europe. It's massive and intimidating. And even if it's 3/4 full, it's 75,000. So yeah, absolutely not the same.
And we've spoken about Rafinha a lot, but who else has really shone for you for Barca?
So the thing is with this Barca team, basically every player has had more or less the best season of their career, pretty much. Starting with Wojciech Szczesny in goal. I was
amazing story. I
was basically laughing when they signed. I was like, what are they doing? Why are you signing this guy? This is ridiculous. Obviously, Ter Stegen gets injured, out for the season. They need an emergency signing. Wojciech Szczesny is living in Marbella, having his cigarettes on the beach, chilling, relaxing, retired, and he gets the call and comes. And he started off pretty wobbly, but he's grown into it and he's been pretty solid. But genuinely everyone, I can't think of any Barcelona player who has underperformed this season. Pedri is pretty much the best player in Spain. Like, nobody plays football like Pedri. It's extraordinary what he's done. He's not just this twinkle-footed, skillful midfielder now dinking around. He's running, he's tracking back, he's tackling, he's recovering possession. It's just an evolution into a total midfielder. Inigo Martinez at centre-back has become first choice. Didn't see that happening. We talk a lot about Lamine Yamal, but Pau Cubarsí is also a teenage centre-back who's become, Frank Beckenbauer. It's amazing. Genuinely everyone. Frankie de Jong's been extraordinary, and he had one foot out the door a couple of seasons ago. Rafinha, literally, they wanted to sell him. They were happy to get rid of Rafinha, happy to get rid of Lewandowski, and they've both put up extraordinary numbers this season. So yeah, even Eric Garcia is there. Remember him? Eric Garcia. He's been brilliant as well this season. So yeah, just all through the team, everybody has performed to their highest level, and that, I think, speaks to the manager as well. Yeah. When a manager is getting the most out of each player, then he's doing a great job.
Pete says, what's the long-term financial future looking like at Barcelona? And will this be another summer of pulling various levers and getting creative with the accounts rather than cutting their cloth accordingly?
Yeah. That's basically the modus operandi, is to pretty much do that. But the thing is, and I had someone sort of message me, a Barcelona fan, saying, I'm actually not that happy. I'm happy, but I'm actually a bit worried because the way that this has come about with what Joan Laporta has done and the string pulling and the corner cutting and basically using every trick in the book to get this through. That's not how Barcelona should be running the club, but it's vindicated by the success that they've had. So yeah, financially they're not in good shape, but getting back to Camp Nou will be important for them. Remember, they sold off a good chunk of their TV rights for the next 25 years, so they're going to be getting less money from TV rights for the next 25 years now compared to Real Madrid, for example. And they don't have the money to go out and splash in the transfer market. But at the moment, and particularly with this young squad, like the squad is young, and there are players coming through the youth academy as well, ready to just step in and look like incredible first team players. So yeah, I was pretty negative about Barcelona's future about a year, 18 months ago, but I've maybe changed my tune a little bit.
What about Real Madrid? What are the vibes about Xabi Alonso turning up?
Yeah, it's pretty negative generally around Real Madrid at the moment. It is a disastrous season when you finish second in the league, runners-up in the Copa del Rey and quarterfinals of the Champions League. That's a bad season for Real Madrid. The general feeling is that it was time for a change, like new blood, new ideas to come in, and Xabi Alonso is that guy. So I think people are excited. He has the cachet needed to be Real Madrid manager, obviously an unbelievable player, someone who knows the club, was a youth coach at the club as well, was in charge of their under-14, so has been inside the setup a little bit, then gone off and done what he's done at Bayer Leverkusen. So I think he comes with the cachet needed to be Real Madrid manager, both inside the dressing room and outside as well, to convince the fans, but also to convince the players. And we'll see what he does, because the phrase cleaning out of the dressing room is being used in the media here. There's going to be quite a few players leaving, I think, and we're expecting quite a few players to come in as well. So yeah, it should be quite a busy summer for Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, he can't get more Galacticos up top, can he? Surely he's got to come in and...
Maybe they should... Yeah, should they get another player that wants to play on the left? Because I don't think they've got enough.
Who could they get? Very funny. How much rebuilding is there?
I think we're talking about at least 3 or 4 signings in and 4 or 5 players leaving. They need defenders. But the squad's just been like this season. In its inception, it was completely unbalanced. So you bought Kylian Mbappe, fine, cool, okay, I understand that. But he is a player that wants to play on the left, is better playing on the left, and that's where he's always kind of played in his career, more or less. Vinicius Junior plays there, and Rodrigo wants to play there as well. So you've got 3 players who all really want to play there, and only one of them can. Then in midfield, they didn't replace Toni Kroos. How do you try and replace Toni Kroos? Well, relying on nearly 40-year-old Luka Modric and Dani Ceballos, that's not the way to do it. But that was their plan. That didn't work. And in defence, Dani Carvajal got injured, didn't get a replacement right back. Poor old Lucas Vazquez, who is, he does his best, bless him, but he's not an elite footballer, let alone an elite right back. Nacho left, who was a defender who could play anywhere across the back 4, didn't replace him. So yeah, they I think they need to address the imbalance in the squad, and they will look to bring in defenders. I thought Martin Zubimendi would be a terrific signing for Real Madrid, and I thought with the link to Real Sociedad, Xabi Alonso previously having worked with him as well, he was nailed on to go to Real Madrid, but it looks like that's not happening. So they're going to have to look for someone else in midfield. And yeah, loads of names being mentioned in terms of centre backs. Dean Huijsen. Hausen, sorry. Apparently it's Hausen. Everybody in Spain's been told to pronounce it Hausen. He's apparently someone that they like, and Xabi Alonso likes as well. So yeah, there is quite a bit of work to do in the transfer market.
Do you think Alonso arriving will change, as I said in the intro, like the conspiratorial whining?
No.
Or is that much bigger
that's
than...
like nothing's going to change that. That's been going on for years.
Has that been there forever and ever? Or, it feels to maybe just recency bias, but it feels like it's got more ridiculous recently.
Okay, so this is the thing. So obviously, I used to work at Real Madrid TV. I was there for 9 years.
It was you. You were pumping this out, the referees being shy.
I wasn't on the Spanish channel who were doing all this. I was on the English channel where we were sort of just concentrating on the football. But this has been going on for ages. Like, genuinely, it's just that the media in Spain have suddenly picked up on it. So the impact of the videos that they do every single week, they do a video of the referee before every single game, showing how historically they have been prejudiced against Real Madrid. Those videos, if the media didn't pick up on it and say, "Oh, look, another video from Real Madrid," then nobody would really say
classic
anything.
Culture wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's not going to change. And I know Carlo Ancelotti is quite an elegant guy. He hasn't really gotten involved with all this stuff, but that still continues anyway. That's just a policy from the club that will continue.
Just sort of generic Diego Simeone question: will he be at Atleti for life? Every year, I feel there's a moment where you go, "Oh, maybe it's not his time anymore," and then he's there.
He's still there. He will be there next season. He will be there. I don't know. Well, will he be there until they win the Champions League? Does he feel like he has to do that before he leaves? I don't know. He still has the energy to continue. They've got into the Champions League for the 13th consecutive season, so the club are delighted. Like, they don't have to win. They don't have to win the trophies from the club's perspective. Just get us into the Champions League, get us into that lovely money pot, and you're good. They do have the Club World Cup this summer, which is actually big for them because then probably not going to play it again. Like, if you think about it, like if there's only 2 teams from Spain getting into it, that's going to be Real Madrid and Barcelona, right? They've taken advantage of a blip from Barcelona a few years where they messed up in the group stages. But basically, it's going to be Real Madrid and Barcelona. So yeah, they'll look at the Club World Cup. Sort of shooting ahead to a question that might be covered on later in the podcast. They're taking it seriously because they might not be there again.
Quickly, one on Sevilla. They had to spend the night in their stadium. What's that about?
They had to spend the night in their training ground.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what happened. Sevilla are terrible. They're very lucky that there are 3 worse teams because otherwise they would probably be getting relegated. They lost away to Celta Vigo at the weekend, playing against 10-man Celta Vigo for most of the game. Still lost 2 points from a possible 27, I think it is. They arrived back in Seville around 9 p.m. and about 500 fans were at the airport to greet them and give them a piece of their minds. They went out the back, so they didn't get to give them a piece of their minds and went to the training ground where they were supposed to have a little dinner together before going off home. The fans all went to the training ground, started chanting, screaming, horrible things against the president. And then some of them broke down the barrier to get into the training ground. and stormed the training ground. I don't know what they were hoping to do, like what the end game was, but we could see them sort of parading around, chanting. In the end, they were dispersed, but the club thought it's too dangerous to let the players go back home to sleep, so you've got to stay here and sleep in the training ground. So yeah, absolute catastrophe of a season for Sevilla, which probably won't end in relegation. But they are really awful. So, 3 games left. If they lose all 3, I think they'll go down.
All right, Phil, that's all I've got, unless you've got anything you desperately want to tell us.
No, what does Sid usually do at this juncture?
He just leaves.
Okay, adios.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil. And that'll do for part 1. In part 2, we'll do a bit of the playoffs, then get into the mailbag. Welcome to part 2 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So let the playoffs rumble on. John, you're on the minute by minute for Sheffield United v Bristol City. So I get for 10 minutes, Bristol City looked okay, didn't you? You thought maybe you might have an interesting evening. And then really, we all knew it was done, didn't we?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of shots reined in.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper, is it Michael Cooper? Looked pretty solid, actually, I have to say. Listen, Sheffield United... The thing is, the playoffs are always those things where you think, the team that sneaks in has got a chance against a team that finishes third. Not in this case. Blades were streets ahead, really. Obviously, what happened in the first leg with the sending off meant that City were chasing an impossible dream. A dream that only Sheffield Wednesday really managed to do in playoff memory. And... it wasn't happening. As soon as Blades found the range with Kiefer Moore, you knew what was going to happen. Great header. Kiefer Moore, can he be next season's Chris Wood?
It's a good question.
I'm hoping so. Because the thing is, Chris Wood was always regarded, wasn't he, as a championship striker for many years, and that he would never make the grade. And I think that's always been Kiefer Moore's problem, hasn't it? I mean, I'm a huge admirer of Kiefer Moore. He's great to watch. Listen, we share feelings on players like that.
Oh, we do, yeah.
With the game changing, can someone like that make a bit more of an impact? Because those players do seem to have... listen, is it more that defenders cannot defend? Central defenders cannot deal with the ball. They have their own... I mean, Chris Wilder, we're talking about afterwards, dead ball specialist. He was talking about Arsenal. He says, you watch the Champions League and Arsenal have got them. Well, we've got them too. But unfortunately, for Blades, they have a terrible record in the playoff final. But Chris Wilder, a divisive figure for many, I suppose, because of that brusque Yorkshire manner. He's fairly... there's been a few bust-ups over the time, haven't they? Mm-hmm. His press conferences, I must say, I haven't been to a few of them, could be fairly fearsome when he's not happy. But if you were a Sheffield United manager, you would love this guy because, let's face it, Blades are a club that essentially are built to yo-yo between the top 2 divisions. And you think of 3 managers, you think of Dave Bassett, you think of Neil Warnock, and you think of Chris Wilder. And he's done just as good a job as those 2. All credit to Blades. Terribly sorry for Bristol City. Listen, after what happened to Liam Manning and his family, all sympathies go out to him. I think he's made a lot of friends this season. Hopefully they can go again. But Blades at Wembley.
Yeah. Totally agree with what you say about Liam Manning. He comes across incredibly well. And I've mentioned it before, but Ben Fisher did a brilliant interview with him. And it's really worth seeking that out. But yeah, so Sunderland play Coventry at the Stadium Light tonight. You're 2-1 up. Good luck to Barry Glendennings and Jonathan Wilson's everywhere. How are you, Baz? You still on the fence? Or are you desperate for victory now? Now you can taste it. You can taste the Twin Towers, as it were.
I'm not really the person to ask because I'm not a match-going Sunderland fan. But I asked a pal of mine, another Jonathan, Mackham Jonathan I know, the other day. He was at the Coventry game. I said, do you actually want Sunderland to get promoted? And he was even a bit reticent, but he certainly wants them to win the playoffs. And so it's all very odd. But everyone's seen what's happened the last 6 teams to get promoted, and nobody wants that to happen to their team. Particularly, Sheffield United the season before, or last season, Southampton, Leicester this season. Ipswich didn't disgrace themselves, but...
I don't think I'd mind. I don't know what you think. I I suppose we've got too many United fans here, so it's hard for them to sort of empathise. I mean, not too hard, but
Well, you say that.
But the experience of losing every week is weird if you're a Manchester United fan. If you are a yo-yo team, I think you go, okay, this is what this year is. We go to some better grounds and we get thumped a bit and you never know, and then we'll go down again. And
Ipswich have been a bit careworn the last few weeks, haven't they? That's been quite a sad thing, because I was lucky enough to attend quite a few of their early games, and none of which they won. But there was always this hope, and I think their first home win was against Chelsea, wasn't it? New Year's Eve, and then they didn't win another game till March, and that is a depressing road to be on. And if you're a manager like Kieran McKenna, who is the modern manager, the slick manager, the one that's able to sort of talk through in terms of tactics, he'd run out of things to say. It's hard. It must be so hard.
But I suppose if you're Ipswich, they were in League One. Like Cambridge didn't win and got a point in the first 9, and that's in League One. So like losing in the Premier League is totally fine. Andrew says into the mailbag, will we ever remove Spurs and United from the top 6? What are the conditions that need to be met to be a top 6 side? Noz.
Well, sorry, can I just say before Noz answers that question, I think it's Big 6, not top 6. They're not a top 6 side.
Yeah, okay,
they're 16th and 17th place side. So Big 6.
It's nailed the terminology, yes.
Okay, Big 6. Okay, but we'll go with Big 6. It still feels like. What do you think, Noz? It's just depends how you define it, like most football questions, I guess.
It's box office. It's whichever teams get the most attention, and Spurs and Manchester United get a lot, probably get more attention this season than most others, simply because they're so bad. And there's a celebration in that. Like why would you want to be without that? It's a little bit like, in Eurovision, where you've got those automatic qualifiers that don't need to sort of like go through semi-finals or thing. Like, everyone wants the United Kingdom to be in it because they're going to be really bad and it's going to be really funny. So it's a little bit like that, where you are always going to have Spurs and Manchester United beat, or any of the traditional Big 6. You if they're doing badly, that almost makes it more imperative that they're included because they're a bigger story. And can you imagine a situation where in any way they weren't perceived as the Big 6 or weren't given the attention? Then you'd miss out on all that joy. The amount of joy that Manchester United in particular, but also Spurs have given the football community as a whole this season. You can't buy that.
It's one of those things, actually, and you often get it from those who maybe have a vested interest in the disappearance of Tottenham and Manchester United. Maybe Arsenal fans, might be Liverpool fans, might be Manchester City fans. But you know what? If they did disappear, you'd miss them. Yeah, because that's the whole point. It's football, it's rivalry, it's... And Manchester United and Spurs, they do have this sort of faded grandeur, this faded...
It's so faded.
glamour.
It's so faded. Rusted.
It's so faded. It's so... But it's still there. I mean, look through other sports, like, you have teams in baseball that haven't won the World Series since before the First World War that have glamour. That you have Dallas Cowboys are the biggest team in American football. They've been rubbish for many years. The New York Jets, that type of thing. Football, Manchester United getting relegated in the 70s is one of the big stories of the 70s. Spurs did the same. It's a huge story. Those are big clubs, and big clubs don't necessarily have to be good. That's what they're proving at the moment. That's absolutely true.
God, it's so interesting, isn't it? That you think, it is such a shame that one of those bottom 3 wasn't better.
Yeah.
Because then, Man United and Spurs, right? I mean, obviously, like, my Spurs hat on, it'd be terrifying. But, like, and I can't stop thinking about this Europa League final. I don't know what you think, Noz. Like the implications of the difference between winning and losing one football match. I can't think of that many moments. Obviously, like a World Cup final, those implications.
It's like a playoff final, though, isn't it? It's like...
It is. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
They should get, like, Gary Weaver and Andy Hitchcliffe to do the commentary on it. Because it's just like, this game means more than any ever. And it's like, those playoffs where the first touch of the ball is like, the tension. Because it's just those... that's what it is. In fact, actually... why not? If you lose, you get relegated from the Premier League as well. Just, do you know what? You just why not? Sod it. Let's change the rules. We're probably going to have to change the rules anyway after certain events. Well, why not just do this and have done with it?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We were just talking about whether teams actually want to get promoted and just whether the fans want to see them lose every week. There is a conversation amongst Manchester United fans at the moment where would it be a bad thing to qualify for the Champions League because it would be an utter embarrassment. And if Amarim is talking about how United can't currently compete in two sort of like competitions, how will that play out in Premier League and Champions League? But I mean, first of all, it's hilarious. Like there's a lot of Spurs and Manchester United fans getting annoyed at people saying, "Oh, should they qualify for the Champions League?" And the answer is obviously the rules say they should, but obviously they shouldn't, and that's what makes it hilarious. It's a little bit like that team that like accidentally sort of like just stumbles in and sort of gets in there. But I mean, the implications are massive, and it's like you were saying, Max. It's that thing of this could be a real sliding doors moment between suddenly having lots of money, suddenly having lots of they're back, you can sign players, or like kind of like the abyss of like next season could be even worse. And I get the sense with Spurs in particular, like there's like big financial implications of like they might have to sell some of their best players. It's that situation where and I think Manchester United and Spurs fans share this, where there is now less excitement about winning it and getting to the Champions League. It's more like you want to avoid the humiliation of losing. to lose to Spurs or to lose to Manchester United. Like, is there anything more humiliating than that?
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Yeah. This is going to be a very, very silly game. I played on my birthday, as it happens. There you go. So.
I mean, yeah, I can't wait for it. I mean, I'm terrified. I don't know what you think, Barry. With no dog in the fight, Barry, are you just sort of, this is real rubbernecking stuff, isn't it?
It is. I'm really looking forward to it. I suspect it could be a terrible game of football because the terror of losing will vastly override the desire to win, if that makes sense. And yet it could be an all-timer, a Hall of Fame game. I would hate to have a dog in the fight. I'm so glad I don't have a dog in the fight. I think I would prefer Spurs to win just for the giggles, but put it this way, It's a long time since I've been this interested in a Europa League match.
Doesn't the winner actually go into pot one for Champions League as well? It's so ridiculous, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Amazing. It's like a really...
But no one knows what that means, does. No one knows what that means.
It's like a ridiculous game show. It's like I was thinking about this, like when you look at the league table as well, and this happens every year when you go, look, you do your predictions and you say, well, this would happen. Honestly, if you'd said, this is my table, and Man United is 16th and Tottenham is 17th, like people would have been like, that's ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous. It's sort of nobody who thinks they know about the game would have ever said that.
When I said I thought United would be 12th, people were going, really? And it wasn't because they thought they'd finished that high.
Well, I mean, a friend of the show and of mine, Miguel Delaney, talks these days of a post-table world where... like, the tables don't exist anymore. You know, it's
right.
Like
so the league table does lie.
The league table does lie. Yeah. So that sort of Alan Hansen pronouncement you used to get in the night as well. You know, the table doesn't lie. That's over. That's over. You know.
I just think it's a situation of like there's people talking, a Spurs worse, a United worse. It's almost like that Rio Ferdinand quote of like, just enjoy them both.
Yeah.
Just like they're both so bad. Just like you may never get a situation like this where like two of the big six are so terrible. Like just cherish it.
And that's the thing. Like either side could win 5-0 if they get the other one on a really bad day and they sort of turn up. Sean Bon Jovi says it's a pity the winner and relegation was wrapped up so quickly. I can't remember a previous season with so many genuinely brilliant and enjoyable teams all playing their own game. Do any of the panel agree? It's kind of sort of good season, bad season. Question that we sort of touched on before, Baz. But I don't know what you think. I think you can have lots of good teams who are interesting, but also be slightly flat because everything is done.
Yeah, I mean, the Liverpool-Arsenal game was a case in point on Sunday where I think we'd all hoped at the start of the season that could be a potential title decider, but ultimately there was nothing at stake, and the main talking point was the hostility directed towards Trent Alexander-Arnold. It was still a decent game, but ultimately it didn't matter. For several weeks now, we've all, all the focus has been on the race for the top 5, which is quite interesting. Then there's the race for 8th, which is being played up. I could not care less who's in the Europa Conference League next season. And the thing is, as far as I know, 8th place might not even guarantee you European football unless City win the FA Cup, which is far from a given. I think the interest in the race for 8th is massively confected. The interest in the race for the top 5, less so. But if it ends up that Forest and Villa miss out, then it'll all be a bit...
If you are Brentford or you are Bournemouth, I think it is different, right?
Yes, but I'm not, and most people aren't.
No, I know you're not, but it's not all about you.
No, but you asked me for my opinion.
About you,
That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I did.
I'm going to go full Andrew Robertson here and go, that's how I feel. I'm not going to tell anyone else how to feel. That's how I feel.
The thing is, I think what the questioner is asking, and I think this is a good point, is that we have had teams like Brentford play well. We've had teams like Bournemouth play well. Newcastle. You've had, Pep Guardiola, a fairly famous quote of him saying football has changed because of the way certain people play. And there's been quite a lot of good football played in different styles. But what's happened is, through whatever reason, we've ended up with a fairly uncompetitive Premier League, partly because 2 of the big 5, 6, whatever, couldn't care and have decided to chuck it in. But it's unfortunate. We've got those gulfs at the bottom. Those teams at the bottom try and play the right way. It's not possible unless you have the players to do it or the right coaches to do it. And I suppose the thing is that the league title winners, Liverpool, have played football in the same way as they used to, but with the handbrake on a little bit more, which is, again, shows things that are a little bit different than before. But, I mean, listen, this whole argument, has it been an exciting season? I still want more of it. I still want more to happen. I still think more can happen. I'm hoping so, anyway.
It's also how you kind of, when a season starts, you sort of analyse the football for football's sake, right? You watch matches and go, this was a great game, let's talk about this. And as the season carries on, it turns more into the implications of this, not how did this guy kick this ball, or, wasn't this a beautiful pass? Those things are still there, but you're sort of thinking, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so the way you sort of analyse a season changes as it goes, naturally, because it seems weird to lead with a meaningless football match.
It would be fairly churlish to go, oh, well, Bournemouth played great football, but it didn't really result in anything. Nonsense. They've had they played great football and enjoyed it, and their fans have enjoyed it, and a lot of people enjoyed watching them.
One question I was just going to ask in terms of the end of the season to make it more interesting is, if instead of the traditional playoffs to get into the Premier League, if there was a scenario where there was a playoff between the fourth from bottom, third from bottom from the Premier League and the equivalent from the Championship, and they had like a playoff.
Sheffield United, yeah.
If they had a playoff between each other to see who goes into Premier League, who gets relegated, would the Premier League teams always win? Because you'd think so, but then they've had a really bad season, and the Championship teams would be having a really good season.
Yeah, when did that definitely used to happen? Long time ago in the 80s.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Chelsea went down as a result of, and Charlton stayed up in 87 as a result, beating Leeds. Leeds famously were singing, if you go to Old Trafford, clap your hands. Obviously because they wanted to go to play United next season, Man United. Charlton came back and won that one. That was more exciting, wasn't it? But I think why did they get rid of that, I suppose?
You feel like 14 Premier League clubs are not going to vote for it. That would be my that would be my guess.
I think it was to add more to the actual seat, so like more teams in the divisions would have a chance rather than,
Right.
yeah, I think it was that greater participation. I think that's the case.
They do have a similar thing in Scotland now, don't they? The second bottom team in the Scottish Premiership plays off the team that comes second in the Championship.
And I think in Germany as well, and it's the team in the Bundesliga tends to sort of
right.
see it out.
It'd be great if any team with 40 points or less had to play off, just work the way down. Be good fun. Anyway, we finished part 2 with a correction. Lots of Leicester fans got in touch. Lucy Ward was saying the Leicester fans were singing Champions of England, you'll never sing that. To Forest fans, I was slightly confused and just presumed they were too young to remember Nottingham Forest win the league. Let's clear it up. This is from Alex, who says, "Hi folks, love the podcast, Leicester fan here. Just got to jump in and correct a mistake from the last episode from Lucy. And so many fans of opposition clubs, we sing Champions of England, you made us sing that. Dedicated to our late great owner Vichai. Vichai had a dream to build a football team. He came from Thailand and now he's one of our own. We played from the back with counter-attack, Champions of England. You made us sing that. Whilst, like all clubs, we have some knobhead fans, we're also not idiotic enough to think that no other team has won the league before, considering we sing this week in, week out. Rant over, all the best, Alex."
I would also like to correct Lucy Ward,
Yeah.
who derived much comedy value from the way I pronounced the word, which is spelled V-A-S-E.
Vase.
Vase,
Yes.
or vase.
Yeah.
An English teacher got in touch to say that my pronunciation is perfectly fine.
Yes, we do have this. Max, how long, says Mark, do you have to work with Barry before you realise there's variation in how words are pronounced? Look up the word vase in almost any dictionary and we'll show at least 2 pronunciations, the one common in Britain and the one common in North America and Ireland, as it happens. Do better, says Mark. All right, mate. Okay, I will do better.
Don't you think "do better" is the most snide
I
thing
hate
you
it.
can
It's
ever
the
write
worst.
in an email?
Do better or lazy.
Yeah.
It's just typical lazy. Do better. I do apologise. I will stop broadcasting immediately. Well, if you may, Mark, let me finish part 3 and then we'll talk about it. And we'll start by talking about the Club World Cup. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. Doran says, "Hi Max, Barry, +2. I like that intro. I haven't heard enough about how insanely unfair the Club World Cup is. Clubs are picked due to popularity or TV ratings to receive a bonus of tens of millions of pounds for playing a few matches, making a mockery of financial fair play. I'd appreciate your thoughts on it. Thanks, Doran, formerly of Southend, now of New Orleans." Noz, have you any thoughts on any interest in the Club World Cup?
I mean, currently no, but I suspect because there's only, there's obviously there's no men's World Cup or men's Euros. There's the women's Euros, and then there's this. So I suspect because there's a dearth of football, we will automatically get interested, and the promotion will work, and this jiggery pokery that DAZN have done with the Saudis in terms of selling the rights and it being free to air will get people interested. Currently, no, but I am kind of fascinated in terms of how seriously clubs are taking it. I know in South America, any iteration of this is taken far more seriously.
Yeah,
but I'm also kind of interested in the situation where, like, you've had Chelsea wanting to get players in before it. Real Madrid are willing to pay a nominal fee to Liverpool to get Trent Alexander-Arnold in early, even though they're getting him for free, so he can play in it. And you hear various other stories about teams wanting players in to take part. So they're obviously taking it seriously. But I mean, to be honest, I'm more interested in the fact that you've got clubs from all regions around the world. So like seeing like some of the Asian or sort of African teams play against these big European and South American teams. I think that'll be really interesting, just to sort of like. It's that thing of in the current game, you kind of feel as if you can't be surprised anymore. And like for like international sort of national tournaments like the World Cup or Euros, you kind of know every team. Like every team is super analysed before the tournament. Whereas like for this, it kind of feels as if you are going to be seeing teams and seeing players that you genuinely don't know about. So there'll be that element. So it'll be exciting in that sort of sense. But I kind of don't want it to be a success because you know it's all very cynical. in on every level. But because people just want football, I think the attention will grow.
Speak for yourself when you say you don't know everything about Mamelodi Sundowns.
What a name! What a name!
There's yeah, I know. Great, isn't it?
I was just looking at the website there, and I noticed that Lionel Messi is at the very top of the page, and I was reading about how Inter Miami were being mocked, and David Beckham had to ask for them to be respected because they're not very good at the moment.
Minnesota's official club admin was having a pop at Inter Miami saying, you've got no history, and then someone said, you began in 2015 or something like that. I'm not an expert, but David Beckham was like, respect means everything. You're like, Becks, come on, what are you doing? Lying in bed on your phone. Just leave it alone. Leave your notification. Surely he's turned his notifications off. Like, surely.
I mean, Beckham doesn't change as he never really did like the criticism, did he? He would come out and, get a new tattoo or something or a new hairstyle to kick against it. Now, this is what he does, but we know what this is. This is that FIFA look at UEFA's control of the Champions League and think of the money that makes, and they want a piece of the club game. That's it. And FIFA owning this railroads over UEFA's financial fair play. A team like Chelsea, whose finances are a little bit dodgy, they suddenly could trouser $100 million. Manchester City, it's a club that, well, let's not go there. It's upending the European thing. The other side of it, I suppose, is, if you think of, a one world, we are the world, type of thing. Global teams playing against each other, it doesn't sound that bad, really, does it? It sounds
no.
But it does sound like a comic from the 1970s, though, of like a futuristic football that Roy of the Rovers go to play a crack team from Australia or something like that are as good, and it's just the thing is that the football's inequalities mean that it can't be that, and I suppose that the Gianni's sort of Bono-like dream is that eventually this is an equal playing field and that Uwara Red Diamonds can eventually win. The Sundowns can compete for this trophy, when in fact it is likely that there will be 3 European teams and maybe a South American in the Final Four. I think one of the things to look out for is the ticketing of this thing, how popular it is. There's some fairly opaque messaging on that. I think if you have a look at trying to find tickets, you'll find some interesting fixtures are selling very well and others aren't. It's a interesting old tale. Paul McInnes has done a bit of writing on this. I'd have a look on that. It's going to be... It could be farcical. It could be farcical. I think the amusing thing, isn't it, that the trophy is still sat in Donald Trump's office behind him. It's and it's of course Gianni Infantino's thing of getting close to Donald Trump. I mean, it's wonderful. It says everything about your love of football, doesn't it?
Yeah, and actually, the idea of seeing teams you don't know anything about coming up, that sort of like Mexico '86 for us, is great. Yeah. It's just a, the motivation behind it is perhaps. As with many things, when you don't even have to peel back the curtain this time, do you? Anyway, Baz?
I think it's worth saying, though, like, the first World Cup, loads of countries didn't bother entering because they were, it's in Uruguay, too far away. No one's going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
And Uruguay won it. They've got their little star on the shirt.
Yeah.
And it will have it there forever.
I've just had a look, and apparently there's 23 games that will be on Channel 5. So you'll be able to watch those. I mean, I suppose it'll be a nice change. You could watch like a Club World Cup game and then like a documentary about air fryers. So yeah, mix it up a little bit.
Will it be John Barnes presenting and Jonathan Pearce doing the commentary? I hope so. Just like the golden days.
Do you remember the very, very early days of like Shelley Webb used to present like on Channel 5?
Yeah. RJB says, you mentioned that the Orient offside goal in the playoffs against Stockport on Saturday wasn't the worst decision you've ever seen. What is the worst decision you've ever seen? He says football or otherwise. Perhaps we confine it to football. Does anyone want to go first?
I suppose as an Irishman, I'm obliged to mention the Thierry Henry handball, but I wasn't particularly exercised about that. France were much better than us. Shea Given should have come and collected the cross and it would never have happened. But it's not so much one decision as the worst refereeing performance I've ever seen was in the 2002 World Cup when South Korea knocked out Italy.
Yeah.
Byron Moreno
Of course, yes.
from Ecuador was the referee. And he was so incredibly biased towards South Korea, who were the co-hosts, that it just beggared belief. But the beauty of it was no one really cared because everyone wanted them to beat Italy. So he gave South Korea a penalty they didn't deserve, which they missed. He failed to send off one of their players, Hwang Sun-hong, for a red card offence that it should have been sent off, wasn't. Alessandro Del Piero got an elbow in the face in the South Korea penalty area. That went unpunished. Then Mr. Moreno sent off Francesco Totti for diving when he should have been given a penalty. I mean, these were all blatant decisions. He chalked off a golden goal. Do you remember who remembers golden goal? Who remembers golden goals? He chalked off a golden goal scored by Damiano Tomasi for offside when it wasn't. South Korea went through to the quarterfinals. And then later that year, Moreno was suspended for 20 matches in Ecuador for entirely unrelated matters. He was investigated by FIFA, and I think he ended up taking early retirement. And then in 2010, he was caught trying to smuggle 10 pounds of heroin into JFK Airport in his underpants.
Wow.
And did 2.5 years in the big house.
Can't imagine Craig Pawson doing that, can you? I mean, God, what a story that is. That's amazing. I've got to go and watch those highlights again.
Yeah, it's worth watching. I watched them last night in preparation for this question. But yeah, so that performance was absolutely staggeringly bad. I'm not going to say it was corrupt, but it didn't. All the decisions went in South Korea the co-host's favour.
I think that,
and the beauty of it was no one cared except the Italians, because they had a very bad reputation at the time as cheating bastards. So it was sort of like they were getting their just desserts.
I was going to say that's the one that stands out beyond, obviously, handball 1986, which Maradona, which again, actually, you're sort of glad it happened.
Yeah,
it just adds to the myth of the man. And I heard Terry Fenwick a few years later on another podcast on Second Captains described the global conspiracy against the England team that led to this event. So, it's things don't change in football, do they? There's always some...
29th of January 2000, I went to, when you look up an old BBC match report and it's the old fonts, the old style, and they've kept it like that, and I love that. Cambridge 1, Bolton 3. Cambridge boss Roy McFarland was an unhappy man afterwards, accusing referee John Brandwood of bottling a decision after Mike Whitlow brought down Trevor Benjamin as he tried to race clear on goal. The referee instead gave Bolton a free kick for an apparent foul by Benjamin earlier in the move. The rules of the game mean they should have been playing with 10, McFarland complained. Benjamin would have been clear on goal. Whatever excuse the referee gives for me, he has bottled it. Bolton manager Sam Allardyce did not agree and believed the referee had got it right. He preferred to concentrate on a good end to a tough week. And he says, you look at these cup games and it makes you wonder why Cambridge are down there because they performed so well. But I remember it clear as day, and he has cleaned through. And Mike Whitlow, it's such a foul. And how he gave a free kick the other way, incandescent. Would you like the Bolton team from the year 2000?
Just before you give us that team, Max, I would suggest, if recollection serves me well, that Trevor Benjamin being clean through on goal was no guarantee that Trevor Benjamin would score.
Yeah,
how dare you? Yeah. How dare you? Here we go. Jaskalainen, Holden, Ritchie, Warhurst, Whitlow, Bergson, Elliott, Jensen, Johansson, Taylor, Holdsworth, with Gudjonsson, Ricardo Gardner, who changed the game, Phillips, Farrelly, and Banks on the bench. So there we go. John, you wanted to talk about the Riverside stand at Fulham. £3,000 to £20,000 a season over 9 different tiers. I mean, 20 grand a season, I wouldn't stretch to it. I must say, the pictures that were taken alongside your article in the Sun looked really lovely. I thought maybe I'd really like to watch football this way.
But Tom Jenkins, our photography, yes, I've been to a lot of football in my time. I have very rarely and I've written on football many places, but I've very rarely written with a glass of Veuve Clicquot bubbling at my side, scallops being dropped at my table as I want, it's sea bream, a bit of venison here and there.
Did you think, actually, this is how we should be doing football? We've got it wrong
Well,
all these years. Bovril and a pie is actually a really stupid idea.
One of the bars, I think, on the third tier is this margaritas being served, and just people just quaffing margaritas. I mean, the thing is, there are absolutely no motifs of football apart from on the walkway to Shad Khan's seat and in the swimming pool, which is not yet finished. It's one of those, the type you see from, like, say, Singapore or whatever. They sort of overflowing.
Like an infinity
pool thing. Yeah. So that's not quite finished, but it is modelled on a boathouse. So you are like, but it does feel like you're in an Agatha Christie novel. This sort of, or the
White Lotus.
The White Lotus, or like, it's very White Lotus, or very sort of Titanic as well, which is probably a bad metaphor, but it's. I mean, ultimately, it is built because for not football. It's built for the 30 days a year that Craven Cottage is not used for football. You can be a member of. And this sounds very you, Max, a member of the Lighthouse Social, in which you get to have, and which is a membership scheme. You have to apply, and there's a vetting thing, and it's possible you could be blackballed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like Soho House. It's that type of vibe.
God,
out in the sun. And Tom took a very good picture. In fact, I think there's a bird flying past, isn't there? It looks absolutely brilliant. Out in the sun after the game, as we sat on the deck, throwing down the last of the free booze, I thought, this is the life. But I have to say, as regards Fulham 1, Everton 3, details of which remain quite sketchy to this point, because some of which was because I was writing during the game, I must say, but it is... You feel quite a long way away. You're quite high.
Sounds like that's the idea. To just sort of the football's down there somewhere. We don't want to see this.
Well, it was like the Everton fans to the right, who were very loud, were sort of like the entertainment for the day. Look at them.
God, yeah.
I can see the wisdom of the plan, and this is how American sports do it, don't they? That they make sure that the asset sweats itself, that the asset works during the rest of the time. It isn't just a football stadium. Yes, I'd like someone to take me there. I wouldn't be able to pay the prices to be a member, though. There is a bottom bit where fans from the other stands could go and have a drink, and it's on this nice decking, and it's a pretty decent setting. It's Craven Cottage, What it's like in winter, that's the interesting bit, though. They do say that, they want it to be a wintry scene because, I don't know if you've been to Craven Cottage in December, January, I'm sure you have. It is brass monkeys down there because of the Thames, of course.
Yeah.
I actually thought John's article was very skillfully written. What I especially loved about it is, do you know, you've got that thing about like whenever Louis Theroux makes a documentary, he doesn't actually judge people. He just points the camera and lets people talk, and you make your own decision. It was kind of like that, where John didn't sort of like give you an opinion. He just laid things out to you, explained what things were like, and he just let the bile and anger sort of like grow in the reader.
Thanks, Noz. That was sort of what I was aiming for, though. Someone did say, "How dare you write an advert for this place?" And it's like, it wasn't. It's just describing it as it is, and you can take it or leave it. That's the whole point, right? If you got the money, yeah.
All right, that'll do for today. Thanks, everybody. Cheers, Baz.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Cheers, Max.
Thank you, Noz.
Thank you.
Football Weekly is produced by Joel Grove. Our executive producer is Daniel Stevens. Do better, everybody.
This is The Guardian.